General Electric, Boeing, Facebook, and Tesla are all what TheStreet's columnists and editors are watching. I'm Catherine Ross, live at the NYSE with Jim Cramer. Jim, investors have a lot to think about. Let's start with General Electric.
Yeah.
It's real money stock of the day.
Right. Now, I'm going to have Larry Culp on Mad Money tonight, and I've known Larry for a long time, and Larry's doing a remarkable job. He is still playing defense. I keep waiting for him to play offense, but until that balance sheet is fixed, it is going to be defense, and he's got to make he's got to do a number of things that are harder than I think his deck showed today in his comments. Like, one of the things that really worries me is that what I call sensitivity analysis for power. If we do not get the kind of demand in energy, how many of the turbines that they think they're going to sell will they sell? And I think that he's too bullish and optimistic about turbines. He does have some information where he's talking about not making as much money out of aerospace, and talking about how that's going to happen because of supply chain issues, because of demand, high quality problem. I think he's too negative on aerospace and too positive on power. You know, you could say, well, Jim, why should he knows better than you? But my history with GE is that I've been more right than wrong. I do right, like Tusa's work at JP Morgan. I think he's too negative. But the important takeaway here is the granularity with which he's approaching power. So we're beginning to, a black hole has no granularity. When you start doing page after page about what could happen in power, it's the beginning of getting your arms around it. And what I want to ask Larry is, okay, Larry, when do you go from having your arms around it to being able to really do something about it? I don't think they're there yet.
Do you think that the bad news is over for GE?
No. I think that the bad news is more secular, I think, than Larry. There's a cyclical decline in demand for power from the slowdown in the world, and then there's a secular decline from being more environmental. And I think that the team down there in power must be rosy all the time, and it's difficult. It must be difficult to go down there and them being also bullish, and there's nothing to be bullish about. It's a bad business. Oil service is a bad business. He may be too positive about oil service and what he's going to get from that. Because if you notice, we own Schlumberger for Action Alerts, and it's terrible. And it's a much better company than Baker Hughes.
I want to talk about Boeing because now the world has grounded Boeing 737 MAX 8.
Boeing's stock is strong. And I think a lot of people who just say, okay, enough is enough. And I want to say that too. I really do. But then what happens if we discover something that we don't know? I mean, look, yesterday we thought enough was enough because Boeing said nothing was wrong. And then we got those Iridium satellite pictures and indicate that there is something wrong. So the people people could be right. We may be bottoming here. I say between this and buying Salesforce, remember, I always look at it as a piece. In other words, rather than just say you should buy Boeing, okay, I say that there are other better opportunities away from Boeing. I am not saying that Boeing might be bottoming or not. I just find it to be too hard to call. And like Tesla, too hard to call. And I think that one of the things that you have to do if you're going to be a professional investor, and we talk a lot, we have 11:30 conference call today for Action Alerts, a professional investor knows what he doesn't know, okay? And I don't know how long Boeing is going to be laid up. There are some projections that it's going to be 3 to 6 months. There are others that it's 4 to 6 weeks. I mean, with that kind of variable, I got to find something else I like more.
Well, and so my question there is, now that we've grounded all of the 737s, is there still a risk? Because we've taken away the fact that they're planning to crash.
Risk. How about the fact that if you're Southwest Air, you call Boeing, you say, look, you wrecked my whole darn spring, and you're going to pay me. What's Boeing going to do? Say no? I mean, Boeing may have to make accommodations. They're not going to be the only one. So I think that until we figure out what is going to be owed, it is a bit of a fool's errand. No, it wouldn't be if Boeing were at 276, for heaven's sake. But Boeing's been a horse. And when you have a stock that's up that much, things better be perfect. And things are far from perfect now, even as I think Boeing is a great company.
Facebook is facing a criminal probe.
Oh, yeah, what is that? I mean, honestly. Now, one of the things that you learn when you cover courts is that Facebook is, you're not going to get the Eastern District lawyers, the prosecutors, to say, hey guys, I mean, isn't this much to do about nothing? Or can't you just refer this to somebody else. I mean, you've got an Eastern District, and they read the New York Times, and the New York Times stories are bad. So then they open up a criminal investigation. Not going to open a civil investigation, it's Justice Department. And they look at a criminal investigation. They have a grand jury, and maybe they decide to indict the company on contract fraud. I don't know. Well, I mean, what does it mean? Facebook writes a check. I was actually more concerned about the outage and how long Facebook has advertisers that it has to have make goods. And that's something I didn't count on. So I think that I think those who are selling it on the potential criminal charges, they're doing that because when the criminal charges come, they can go buy it back. Because I don't think they really matter. I mean, what is the criminal charge going to do? I don't see what it can do. But the outage, they got to fix that because that has to do with make goods, and make goods are bad.
I'm glad that you brought up the outage, because then my question switches, and that's just in general looking at Facebook right now, what should investors do?
I think that Facebook is up more than 30%. It had come into this day with a head of steam. Typically, you'll have someone who will say bad things tomorrow about it. You can touch it tomorrow, not today.
Tesla is unveiling its new SUV, and so I'm wondering, with this new fleet, where do you see the stock in 6 months?
Tesla, I think, is flat. I mean, that's what it's been. People don't understand Tesla stock's been flat for a long time. And it's flat because for every good, there's bad. And I find that for everybody who loves Musk, there are people who hate Musk. But one thing's for certain, the cars are great. And because the cars are great, there's always going to be a buyer of the stock.
All right, are you ready for my investing education?
Absolutely.
All right, so my question is, Gary Cohen was interviewed by Freakonomics Radio, and he said that tariffs are harming the American consumer. So...
Okay, Gary's friend. We know that there's been no inflation. We've also had tariffs. To me, who's been harmed? Steel's lower. Everyone said steel would be up in price, right? Steel's lower. That's where the big tariffs are concentrated. And I just find that it's just not noticeable, that the harm is not noticeable. The potential good would be amazing. If we got the Chinese to play ball and play fair, then you would see, instead of a $500 billion we buy, $150 billion they buy, it might be closer to $250 they buy. So I think it's been working magnificently, and I know that there's a lot of free traders out there, but don't look at me. I mean, I think that if PPI and CPI were up big, I think Gary would have a very good point, but they're not.
My question for you then is, are tariffs hurting the American investor?
I think tariffs are not hurting the American investor yet. I think that if we took them up that next notch, it would, but not yet. The consumer hasn't felt it because the retailer's eating it, wholesalers eating it. Think about the dollar store. I mean, they were paying X to sell it to you at X plus to keep it under $1, and they're paying a little bit more than X, and they're still keeping it under $1, and that's just a pure way of looking at what's happening.
You interviewed and then wrote about Michael Dell, and I'm wondering, you say that investors are underestimating him.
Well, Michael Dell, you go into a bank, you're going to see Dell all the way. Dell, EMC, VMware, to Amazon Web Services. That's the way it works. It's a way to onboard from you to Amazon, which is obviously the way of the future. There's also obviously Massage by Salesforce, great partner of Dell, but at Workday, great partner of Dell. But I think that what people are missing is that when Michael Dell went private, he bought EMC for Song, which owns 80% of VMware, and he's been able to go after what I would say is the core base of IBM. That IBM had many enterprises, lock, stock, and barrel, okay? And that's being undone by Dell. The stock is ridiculously cheap. A lot of people are worried about the debt. That's why the stock isn't at 65, 70. He could pay down as much. He has huge cash flow, this is a cash flow story. And the cash flow is big, and you ought to buy some Dell. I mean, I've been thinking about it all night. I thought about maybe I should put this in the Action Alert portfolio, maybe put it in the bullpen. But my feeling has always been, you know what, we're up a lot. We have a lot of tech in the bullpen. Let's wait. let's wait. So we're waiting, but I think, Dell's good. Dell's a good story. Dell Technologies, what a story. A lot of big installed base. I really think it's great. I do. I like the stock very much. And it's funny, I was telling some people this morning that did I go too easy on Dell? And I said that there'll be another time where I would have said, you stole the company. How outrageous. You bought Dell back. But I remember when no one wanted the darn company. There was nobody liked it. It used to go down all the time. So give me a break. That's a false narrative. What I think that matters with Dell is Michael's back. He's big. He's great. And I also think the fact that he's very charitable had to be mentioned. I think that, 2019, I'm spending a lot of time asking executives about charity and sustainability because I feel like I've earned the right after 14 years to ask what I think the next generation thinks is important, not just earnings per share. And, I was just working with my daughter, and she's doing a fantastic camp to help younger people. And when I speak with her, she wants to know, for instance, if I tell her I like the plastic spin-off of Dow, which is going to start in April, my daughter thinks that is inappropriate to even mention. Okay, just inappropriate. It's like mentioning positive Juul, inappropriate. Inappropriate to mention a major plastics company. And without asking, what the hell are you doing? How do you look in yourself in the mirror? That's what she wants to know. So I've tried to, without being as confrontational as that, been asking executives about what they think about equal pay, what they think about gay rights, what they think about the idea that the company may be destroying the environment, what they think about what they're doing to help public schools. And it's just the way I'm going to be. And you may not like it or think it's important, but I will tell you, if you want to go to Mercantile, I would tell you that you better do this to get people to come to the company, because otherwise they're just going to go to another company that has far more integrity on these issues, and it is integrity. When I gave the Bucknell commencement speech last year, my wife's on the board of Bucknell, I said, and my daughter went to Bucknell, she graduated this year, what I said was, don't take a job if they have no policy on this. And so these are things I ask about now. Michael Dell has been incredibly charitable, and he cares tremendous about the environment. And that makes me like him more, but it also makes employees like him more. Because it's a different workforce now from my generation. My generation was about how much money you can make. And if you really made a lot of money, you could then give it away. Not anymore. Not anymore. It's a big issue for me. Catherine, it's a really big issue for me. And I got time on this earth to try to make a difference in this thing. I'm doing it. I'm doing everything I can.
And maybe that's just enough to get millennials investing.
Well, I think that millennials care, and I will become irrelevant unless I ask these questions, and I don't want to be irrelevant.
All right, that does it for our show today. Jim, thank you for joining us.
Of course.
And for all of you watching us on Facebook right now,
Facebook is getting interesting as it goes down, don't forget. We will not be talking about a criminal investigation tomorrow, trust me.
So you heard it from the horse's mouth itself. All right, so if you want to hear more from us, you can subscribe to Action Alerts Plus by going to actionalertsplus.com. And do not forget that Jim has his monthly call on Action Alerts Plus.
It's funny, the previous one, I just want to say, I wrote the call out on Sunday, the last one, and things changed so radically from Wednesday, I ripped it out. So tonight is ripped from the headlines. I worked on it until 11:30 last night, and then I got up at 3:30, doing another massage of it, and gave it to the team, to Jeff and Zev, because you deserve it. Club members deserve it.
I'm excited to hear this. So you can find us at 11:30 today. All right, thanks for joining us, guys.